Today's video is on one of my favorite cartoonists working today, Olivier Schrouwen. He's born in Belgium, and he's been doing comics in English since 2006 or so. I think this is one of the first ones he got published in English. This is Mome 12, and he did the cover as well and the back. And this is collected. He did only, I think, 2 pieces in Mome. I don't have volume 14, but he did one in that. And I think both of those are collected in his Fantagraphics book, The Man Who Grew His Beard. But that's out of print and pretty hard to find. I have it though, so I'll show that. But you can get this piece pretty cheap if you're looking for it. It's called Hair Types, this specific comic, and it's kind of, I don't know, to me it doesn't make too much sense. It's pretty like dream logic. Kind of like Charlie Kaufman-esque or something, with like a Winsor McCay inspired vibe. And a little bit of outsider art sprinkled in. His earlier stuff is a lot like this, like very surreal, absurd. I think that he was still like showing his influences a little bit. That absurd, like Belgian Franco-Belgian style of humor. Yeah, the next thing, this is the collection. I think maybe some of these stories were actually published in other anthologies in English. I'm not 100%. I know at least 2 of them were in Mome. This was an ex-library book. That's how I got it for a decent price. It's not in bad condition though. Well, yeah, a lot of his earlier stuff has this vibe. It's like watercolor. Maybe he uses Photoshop to do his coloring. I'm not sure, because he makes it look like it came from like 1920s, 1930s newsprint coloring, like Winsor McCay, Little Nemo, Frank King, the Kinder Kids, etc. I think Winsor McCay is one of his biggest influences visually, at least this era. When we get towards the end of this book, I'll point out another pretty huge influence that I think shaped his work to where it is today. Although I think he kind of this is that story from Mome. I think he took the style of this guy and he expanded it to something so much more. Not getting anything. I'll just say CF from Paper Rad, Power Masters, etc. We're not really at that stage yet, but he was, I think, hugely inspired by that. And I love CF's work. I love his art, his style, his storytelling is so bizarre, but he just doesn't put out much. Like, he never, I don't know. He apparently, everyone wants to know what happened with Power Masters 4, and I'm not, obviously don't know more than y'all, but apparently he took the money, the advance from Fantagraphics and just kept it and decided he didn't want to do it. So that's just how he is. Like, if you've ever ordered something from him, you'll know you're not gonna get that shit like for a while. Maybe you won't get it at all. Great cartoonist though. If you can hunt down Power Masters, the first one's obviously the best. The second two are easy to find for a decent price, but like the first one is out of print and super hard to find. You can get it maybe like 50 or 60 bucks if you're lucky. Definitely, if you can, pull the trigger. But yeah, it's sad that he just kind of built those amazing universes and abandoned them. Olivier, or Shroud, I'll just call him Shroud because I feel like I don't really know how to say his first name well. He really comes through. I mean, he builds these freaking insane universes, and he gives you more than you need, actually, sometimes. It's hard to describe this stuff. It's very like Black Mirror. I think even reading this story, I swear to God, I was like convinced that Black Mirror had ripped him off, and they've been just, I was like, I wonder how many like sci-fi and fantasy and like Netflix shows and movies and stuff were jacked from comics, because man, there's so many magical ideas in like indie comics that, like, it's insane that they're not, a lot of these don't end up as films. I think a lot of the ideas are plundered though. But seriously, like, you read his stuff and it's like years before Black Mirror, and it has super similar themes. At least his early stuff. A little bit of damage here. Sorry, I kind of got off track. That is not what I meant to talk about in terms of this at all. But if you can freaking hunt this one down. Yeah. Sorry, it's hot as hell, so I'm a little bit. This is a book that Fantagraphics put out, a Jacob Covey. A Jacob Covey idea, I believe. This is the volume 2. I don't have volume 1. I don't have volume 1. Beasts, and basically it's just each page is a different beast. Most of them are like mythological from different cultures. Some of them I think are just completely made up, and each one's done by a different cartoonist. I want to do a book or maybe a video about this once I get the first one, because I don't see many people bring this up, and man, there's some awesome stuff in here from an insane list of people. But this is the Shroud page. Definitely that early art, early painting. It's almost feels like it's inspired by like Japanese, maybe Imperial era or something, but at the same time has that early newsprint comic, Winsor McCay. I think that he gets his colors from like scanning old newsprint, kind of like Ed Piskor does. I don't know, it's just a guess by looking at his work. Then this next thing is, let's see, this one's a bit bigger. Set it up right. Mowgli's Mirror, and this is put out by Retrofit, right? Yeah. Retrofit is a Fox Brown, his imprint company. They're great. They put out so much good stuff, and it's always cheap. Usually, I don't think many of the books go out of print. He does decent. I'm not sure if they have a big print numbers or if people just aren't paying attention, but you can get this still really cheap in comparison to some of his earlier stuff. It's a silent comic. It tells like a Tarzan story, with a Shroud absurdist, like very like Spike Jonze, Charlie Kaufman twist. If you've ever seen films like Human Behavior, or Being John Malkovich, Science of Sleep, Michel Gondry, what's that other one? For some reason it's escaping me. Anyway, yeah, you can get this for like $6 still, I believe, on eBay maybe. I'm sure you could get it from like Retrofit directly. That'd probably be better. Support those motherfuckers. Oh, the film I was thinking of, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Anyway, I think that his work does have a lot in common with that stuff. That genre was kind of popular for a minute in the early 2000s. Seeing films like that get Oscars and become famous. I think there's a new Charlie Kaufman book. He wrote a book, maybe? I heard about it on the Office Hour podcast. Tim Heidecker, someone called in and said, maybe it is a screenplay. Actually, I don't remember. Someone said that they'd just read it, and they called in. And he was like, it hasn't come out yet. How did you read it? And he said that someone, it was like a advanced copy, and someone put it in one of those libraries on the street, the free libraries. So that's in LA, of course. So I guess you can find rough drafts and fucking screenplays before they come out in the free libraries in LA. So it's a little pointer. Yeah, all his books have come out from Fantagraphics aside from that, the last one I just showed. And this one's still available. You can still get it from Fantagraphics, or you can get it used for like $10, maybe $15. And this is one of his best works, for sure. You know what? Actually, I'm not really going in a proper chronological order, so I apologize. But yeah, I'll just go ahead with this. Parallel Lives. Beautiful book design. I assume Jacob Covey had something to do with that, but I haven't read that deep into the design on it, so I'm not gonna say for sure. But all his books have these amazing end papers. You open it up and it almost like warps your vision. It's a good way to bring you into his universe. This was a collection of shorts. I think he published some of these as like single issue zines. I think this one, Grays, which it tells his abduction story. I believe it must be true to him, because it's I don't think it's a joke. He does a really good job of mixing autobiography and his family history into his fiction, and I'm not sure if that's a way to like be comfortable with certain things, or he's just riffing and he thinks that's I don't know. It's an interesting theme for sure, and he does abandon it in his newest book, but pretty much everything aside from his early anthology stuff has something to do with his family. or he writes himself into it, or a family member. But yeah, I think this, what I was saying is, I think this one was published by Desert Island originally. And then we get into this very Power Masters inspired section. And so these stories actually do start intersecting, and some of the stories, some of the characters appear in other, they reappear, and stories continue in ways that you wouldn't expect. He's an expert colorer. I'm not sure how he draws this stuff. It almost looks like digital art, but I don't think that it is. I think he definitely does a lot with digital, but like the coloring, I'm not sure. It's hard to say. But yeah, this is his most absurd, fun work, fun thing to read. Amazing character design, amazing world building, and it's fun sci-fi. And apparently he does not like sci-fi at all. It's this, he's not even attempting to make sci-fi yet. This is one of the best sci-fi comics you can read, like, in my opinion, of course. Kind of mixes the Hergé clear line with the CF freak line. I know he has a piece in Kramer's 4, and I believe one in Kramer's 7, and of course those are the two that I don't have. I really goofed. Have had a chance to get 4 for like $30, and I just, man, I messed up. Instead I bought number 9, which I could have got at any point. And I even tried to order number 7, Kramer's 7, a while ago, a few months ago actually. And there was one for like 140, something like that. And I ordered it, weeks went by, and I kept messaging the person, and they just never responded and never shipped it. And like, after about a month, I canceled it. Never, and then I guess they're, this was on Mercari. I've never used that shit before, and I probably won't try it again, because that was dumb. Anyway, if anyone out there has access to, or wants to sell their Kramer 4 or 7, or knows where to get one for a decent price, please hit me up. I don't want to really talk about the stories too much in this, because I would probably just sound stupid trying to explain it. But I'll just say it's kind of, this story actually reminds me of like Mobius, Edina. The outfits, the art. I mean, I'm not sure if he's read that stuff, but it's insanely similar. Like this moving platform that just dissolves, and the outfits and their space suits, and then this is almost like a ripoff of that story, I'm just realizing. Although this is far more entertaining for me. And I will say I like this art better than Mobius in a way. It's different. I mean, of course it's different. This is, I guess I'm just a freak. I don't know. Mobius is good for, it gets you up to like a 4 on the freak scale, but this takes you a little bit further, maybe to a 7.5, 8. Can't recommend this one enough. And yeah, Luckily, this one's still in print because I'm surprised people haven't taken this one out, but because the two before this, the anthology one and the one I'm about to show you, they both, for some reason, are like, people I guess covet them. I'm not sure why they don't covet the rest of them. It's so odd. Yeah, this is the next thing. So this is actually came before Parallel Lives, and this is the first full graphic novel that he did. And it's the story of his grandfather, Arsene Shrawan, but I think it's heavily goofed. He makes his grandfather look like a total idiot, essentially. And honestly, this is like my least favorite of his works. Although I love the art, and I love some of the visual techniques and storytelling motives that he uses. I'm not sure that this was risograph printed, but it really does look like it, and it almost feels like it. Maybe I know that he did print this stuff originally as a zine in volumes, like in little pieces. So maybe it was he risographed it himself, or had it risographed in that format, and that's what they scanned from and tried to recreate. I could be wrong. I mean, it could be risographed. I can't imagine that Fantagraphics put out a risograph book, though. Although J&K, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, this is basically a goof story. His grandfather in, I don't know if they actually say where it is, but it's like the Amazon. He does this thing where he, like, it's almost, I mean, I don't know if this was a real existing vehicle in this time period, but he mixes this like futuristic imagery in. Obviously there's some magical realism going on here as well. One of the really cool techniques I was saying I enjoy about this is he uses these unmolded faces. They're just these round blobs, and as he's meeting them, they just appear as, this one doesn't even have face, he doesn't even have glasses, but they just appear as this to him, and he doesn't care. Like, there's a main character, and he just doesn't care about this character enough to remember his face. And this character saves him so many times. It almost looks like a South Park Mr. Mackey or something. I mean, not Mr. Mackey, Mr. Garrison from back in the day. Beautiful book. And I did see one was on sale for like $45 on eBay, so it can be had. It can be had. I actually got this from In Stock Trades like a few months ago. Got so lucky. I don't know how they had it, but they sold it as damaged. Like, and if you ever bought their damaged books, dude, that's it. If they have something damaged, I will always buy it. Like, if I want the book, of course. I've never, literally, almost every time, it's completely fine. I can't even tell what the damage is. Anyway, yeah, so I got this thing for like $15. Yep. Sorry to brag. I think it must be risograph printed. Well, I need to stop speculating and just do more research before I shoot these videos. I don't want to give a full flip through because it's not the most visually stimulating of the books, but there are some absurd, freaky sci-fi moments, like these fucking rapists. I guess they're a mix of leopard and human, and they corner all these settlers, and they're peeing on their faces and licking their wee-wees and stuff. I don't mean to goof on it, but man, it's a really absurd but funny, terrifying moment. I'm sure you could get like a digital version of this for super cheap and read it, but you gotta see these pages in person. It's just beautiful stuff. I gotta reread this one. It didn't excite me my first read, honestly. I just felt like I had to keep pushing through. And there are really funny moments. And of course, I just love looking at it. But I found it to be his least enjoyable, objectively. It's one of his more simple storytelling pieces, for sure. The book design is incredible, as always. All his books are just awesome. They look great, they feel great. It's like lightweight but heavy, and anyway, this is his newest book, and this came out just earlier this year from Fantagraphics. And this is actually a collaboration with two other French, this is a collaboration with Rupert and Mulot. They're two French comic creators as well. I haven't read too much of their stuff at all, really. I have a little bit in an anthology, and I'll show that afterwards. Just amazing end papers. They're based on like those ancient vintage antique books, if you know what I'm talking about. The line work in here is just amazing. This is by far his best work, and I don't understand how it's a collaboration. I'm not sure who did what. I think they all do draw, and they all do write. So it's pretty absurd to think that 3 people wrote such a singular story. But this tells the story. This is called Portrait of a Drunk, if I didn't say that. And it tells the story of Guy. And he is a drunk. He's a piece of shit, basically. And he's our main character, and we instantly hate him. And we just hope for anyone that he comes in contact to get away. And he uses the same similar technique of these rounded faces, of these people's faces just not mattering, because they're just side characters in his life, you know? They don't mean anything. But instantly, I mean, we're not even like 15 pages in, and our main character is trying to murder someone, and he does successfully murder him. And then we are led with our murder victim into this afterlife where he doesn't know what's going on. He knows he's dead, and he can peek back in, and he has to watch Guy. He can watch Guy throughout his exploits. And that's essentially the format of this book. We see his victims start piling up in this world. Sometimes the victims are not even a person, but a leg. Someone loses their leg because of him. This is like breathtaking stuff. I mean, very Winsor McCay inspired, and I hate to repeat that over and over, but I can't express enough like how big of an influence that is for him, obviously. I mean, I don't understand how they achieved those colors and how they reprint it so well. I'm not sure how much was done in printing, or how much. I would love to see some of the original art for this, is what I'm saying. But we follow Guy, and he's a carpenter, and he makes his way onto a pirate ship, essentially. Not a pirate ship, a ship. It's like some sailors. I forget. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. They're maybe transporting some. Actually, I think they might actually be sailors. Well, it doesn't matter. He sneaks onto this boat, and he becomes, I guess, friends with this kid, and you just desperate for this kid to get away from him, and you actually have this murdered fella on your side, kind of narrating, get the fuck away from this guy, but now he wants to be his apprentice, and now we have to see this fucking poor kid subject to his abuse. And the colors in here are amazing, and it switches between styles, like, but so seamlessly. It all feels so cohesive. And I don't want to give away too much more of the plot. I just want to give you guys a brief introduction and kind of hopefully spark you to go check it out, because I think this is the best book of the year so far for me. I will say, I will go a little bit further into it, and they get captured by pirates. Pirates take over that ship and kill everyone. And they hide. He's getting drunk through the battle, and he makes himself useful to them, so they don't kill him. And he becomes a pirate, essentially. He's their slave, but he proves himself worthy, and even the this is the captain pirate, and even he doesn't have a face. He doesn't even remember his face. But he makes himself useful in a raid. They go and pillage, and to go find a treasure from a different. Actually, I think they're trying to steal something from another, from a king or something, some sort of royalty. But he proves himself loyal, and now Guy has free reign to be one of them. And it all devolves very fast, and I'm gonna flip a few more pages in, but since this is new, I really don't want to give too much away, because I think that this needs to be read by everyone. Like, even if you're not into comics, this is a must read. This is one of those books that should be taught in any English and art class, about storytelling, about cartooning, about expression, about history, about abuse, about, I mean, there's a lot of lessons to be learned here, and a lot of different, there's a lot of educational experience I can see coming from this book, personally. I mean, it was super important when I read it, and I felt that, man, if I could have been turned on to this or comics like this early on, I could have really, I don't know, I felt like I would have found my place earlier in life, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I could have had a better future in storytelling, or maybe, I don't know. There's a lot you can get from this, and I already want to reread it. I just got it a couple months ago, and I already read it twice, but I'll show this last thing really quick. This is a anthology that is put out by Rotland Press from Detroit, and Black Eye. And there was only 3 of these, and I don't think there's gonna be another one. This is all edited. Rotland Press is run by Ryan Standfast, and he edits it as well. Amazing lineups in these anthologies. I'm gonna do a video on Rotland Press at some point, because they're a totally underrated, they're a completely underrated publisher, in my opinion. But just a little peeky at number 3. I mean, you got David Lynch. How the heck? Joan Carnella on the cover. The whole gang. I mean, Jodorowsky. But this is why I wanted to show it. This is the only other place that I was able to get a Rupert and Mulot comic. It's a short one. Zoom out a little bit. But you can definitely see the similarities between this and Portrait of a Drunk. And it's odd, because you can really see like how their style really meshes with Trowen. Like you can almost not, you can tell them apart, but there's something really connected there. Very expressive, but with so like a sloppy line in a way. I don't mean sloppy in a bad way. I just mean it's not what most people would consider like a clean line in comics. It's more like a Hergé inspired, chaotic version. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. Definitely, if you haven't checked out Portrait of a Drunk yet, get that shit ASAP. Parallel Lives. And if you like this video, please subscribe, like it, even share it with some friends if they're like into similar comics and you want to show, I don't know, if you want to turn some new people on to some new good books. That's my whole goal here. So I see there's a lot of holes on YouTube where a lot of independent and alternative comics just aren't covered deeply, and there's a lot of artists that aren't covered at all, and even comics that I don't see covered at all. So I plan on moving forward doing interviews, and I'll be getting a better mic and different setup, so this will just get better and better. As long as people keep caring and watching, I'll keep doing this. So thanks a lot.